here's why the most hated version of the Mazda Miata is actually the one you want to buy. The MX-5, or as it's better known, the Miata, comes in 4 generations. They're called the NA, which is the first gen, the NB, the NC, which is this one, and the current generation is the ND. And the reason the NC is the most hated of all the MX-5s is because this is the biggest, the fattest, the porkiest, the most American Miata. It's the one that Miata people love to hate. Now that smile, it's definitely the most polarizing part of the design, and it's something you either really like or really dislike. I, for one, absolutely love it because all modern cars now are just angry. They're always upset about something with frowny eyes and, oh, they're just mad. This smile is just happy, it's welcoming, it's just a fun little guy, right? Now, if you don't like this smile, the early NC Miatas had kind of this face, and then the later ones actually got even a little bit more aggressive. They kind of got like an angry smile, but this is the one for me. The rest of the Miata, though, if you can get past the face, is a really attractive car. It's very simple. You know, I feel that a lot of cars nowadays are over-designed. There's just so many creases and curves and triangles and points. Even the side profile of cars nowadays have gotten so complicated. This is a very basic, smooth, rounded out design that's just handsome. I'm not sure I would call it stunningly beautiful, but it is handsome in kind of a stately kind of way. You've got these nice little fender flares on the front and the rear. You've got this little bubble butt here with these curved tail lights. It's not a stunner, but it's definitely attractive. At the heart of any good sports car has to be a good engine. And on paper, the Miata NC doesn't seem that impressive. What we're looking at here is a 2-liter 4-cylinder. Yeah, it's got dual overhead cams and 16 valves, but it has just 167 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque. It doesn't have a turbocharger, it doesn't have variable valve timing, it doesn't have direct injection, so you're probably thinking, well, it's kind of eh. But that's where you're wrong, because this engine is far from eh. This engine, with its 4 little cylinders, has more character than just about any modern engine ever made, especially if you're used to like modern turbocharging, where they make all their power at 1500 RPM and then the party is over by 3000. Well, then let me take you on a journey in the 2010 Mazda Miata. So let's slow down here. We're at the bottom of second gear here. From 1000 RPM to 3000 RPM, not a lot going on. Kind of just sounds like a typical 4-cylinder rental car, not a lot of power or torque. But we're gonna start riding that wave from 3 to 5. Okay, that engine's sounding a little angrier. From 5 to 6, there's the power. From 6 to 7, now it's really angry. And then from 7, past red line to 7700 RPM, it's like little Jack Jack in the Incredibles movie. It turns into an absolute little demon. The red line is 7200 RPM, but the engine will rev to 7700. Ah! What an experience! And it just pulls harder and harder and harder, and then it's just vibrating its head off at the top, and it just wants to keep going. And then physics come into play, and the Mazda gods say, no, you're going to throw a rod through the block. But to see that needle go through the red zone on the tack just makes my car guy heart flutter. Now, there is a pretty big secret surrounding the NC lineup, and this is a very important distinction that can greatly change your experience with this car. You see, Miatas have the different generations, but within the generation, they are constantly improving and tweaking and revising to make the perfect sports car. So the NC launched about 2006 with the NC1, but then right around 2009, Mazda did a facelift on it and called the NC2. Now, this probably made some headlines because it got the smiley face and it got better cup holders and a couple things that, you know, is great to point at in a video, but it got a lot of changes under the skin that greatly improved the driving experience, like that engine. Yeah, the early and the late MZR engines both are 2-liter 4-cylinders, but the later ones have forged internals and a much higher redline and are much more engaging. Same thing with the suspension. Sure, the overall suspension architecture didn't change, but the later cars sit lower, they're stiffer, they handle a lot better. And then there was even another generation after this, even in the NC, that got further tweaked. So the later you can buy your NC Miata, like definitely post 2009, and then even like a 2013, 2014, those are going to be a lot better than like a 2007. And now for the biggest reason why I think the NC Miata is the best Miata. It's because it is the biggest Miata, which is ridiculous. I know that is going against everything the Miata stands for. And I know the comments can be like, well, you're a bloated American who lives off of Big Macs and 32-gallon Cokes. Fair enough. That might be true, but the fact of the matter is myself, a lot of my friends, a lot of my car enthusiast friends are just big people. We're tall, maybe we're a little thick around the waist since we got married, and we don't want to be uncomfortable driving our sports car. This Miata is something like 3 inches longer than the new Miata. One of the few cars that in later generations actually got smaller and lighter. Now, Dave Coleman, who is kind of the Miata guy at Mazda for North America, he's an excellent engineer, can claim that he can make anyone comfortable in an ND Miata. And Dave, I love you, man. That's a mission you're going after. But the fact of the matter is, I just find the NC Miata to be the most comfortable. And it's not like it's a Mack truck. It's 2,600 pounds instead of 2,400 pounds. It still is a small, compact car, but I've got good room here on the driver's side, and on the passenger side, this little hump in the floor is a lot less intrusive than it is on like an ND Miata for the catalytic converter. It's just a comfortable place to be. I'm 6 feet tall. I don't end up sticking over the cowl like I would on an NA Miata. It's a lot better than an ND Miata, and this simple design and the width and the size just makes it more comfortable than an ND Miata for me. And this car also has a height adjustable seat, so if you want to change it around, the later NC's got that as well, which is awesome. The comfort in a Miata, not something that they're known for, but that is one of the things that makes this my favorite generation of Miata. This is such a comfortable and refined daily driver. Now look, there are a ton of different trims of the Miata, and they change based on the year, so we're not going to go into all of them, but this is kind of the old man trim. This is what they call a Grand Touring. And yes, this one does have the limited slip diff, so it's the old man in Reeboks, but what a comfortable daily driver. Top down, heated seats up, Bose radio on. Oh, it is so good. And that's something that, I think really any version of the NA or NB are missing. And then the NDs are just, they can be a little high strung, but this car, when you're not wringing its nuts off, it's just a comfortable, refined car. Leather seats in this Grand Touring. I know I'm an old man, but maybe I would like forgo the club, the racy ones, and get this one, because it will still beat anything on an autocross in stock form, but it's a comfortable, refined choice. Now, one of the more desirable options on the NC Miata is something called the PRHT, which is not a very catchy name, but it stands for Power Retractable Hardtop. And it operates exactly like it sounds. It is a retractable hardtop that is power operated. That was the most useless soundbite I've ever said. And it does add some versatility to the NC Miata. If you live in like a cold environment, you live in a city, you don't want to deal with some of the setbacks of the soft top. Now, me personally, I've had some really, really, really bad experiences in the last couple of years with power tops in used cars. Granted, I'm talking about a Saab and a Porsche, but even still, these cars are going on, in some cases, nearly 20 years old, right? And there's something so fantastic about being able to get in one, pull one lever, and then with the other hand, grab the top, and then close and latch it up. If I want to open it up, one button, fold it down, latch it in place. So yes, these soft tops can wear out. This one has actually, it's on its second soft top. But for me, even though that PRHT is a cool option, I would still go with the soft top Miata. Angry, angry, angry. Every time. So there's not a lot I can say about how this car drives that hasn't been said. The only thing I'm going to reemphasize is it's still one of the most fun you can have, especially for under $20,000. They handle so well, they're so neutral, and yeah, the suspension's soft, and yeah, they roll around a little bit, but that's because they're meant to roll around a little bit. Wahoo! Look at that. And then the tail comes around nice and progressive, especially early NDs. I kind of feel like they went too far with the tail happy thing. Those things they're like Kardashians trying to make a turn. They lead ass first. Where this, yeah, you can get the tail around if you want to. I didn't there, but you can, and it's very progressive and easy, but it also doesn't understeer or oversteer all that much. These are very neutral cars, especially the later NC2s that have some kind of handling tweaks on them, and especially with the LSD in the back. These are actually super fun cars on an autocross. I started autocrossing a little while back, and I started in a John Cooperworks GP Mini, a rare limited edition, high performance, no rear seat, all track focused car, and NC Miata stock were just running rings around me. Even as I progressed as a driver, there was just no keeping up with them. People think, Miatas they're slow. Even in an autocross, they're not going to have the power to keep up with like an M2. In the real world, okay, maybe not an M2, but like an M235, God, these cars are so fast around a tight circuit. One of the best parts about this Miata is it does a great job of blending old school sports car fun. What I mean by that is stuff like a naturally aspirated engine, hydraulically assisted power steering, a manual transmission, and modern safety features like dual airbags, driver and passenger, side curtain airbags, right? Without kind of introducing some of the modern screens and nannies into the mix. Let's talk about this center stack. First of all, this is the generation of the bubbly Mazda, right? Where everything is kind of round and squidgy, but very uniquely designed. Now this radio is so simple and easy to use. Let me walk you through the features. You've got presets, CD functionality, Sirius XM if you want to pay for it, FM AM, and then I just stick it on auxiliary, use the aux port, and it does absolutely everything I need it to do. If I had a little phone mount up here, right on the windshield, I could have my navigation going, listen to my music. This is the right amount of technology. Plus, it also has automatic climate control, because this is a Grand Touring. We also have 5-position heated seats, so it's not exactly slumming it in terms of features. Power windows, cruise control, we even have steering wheel buttons here, and I love the mechanical gauges. Everything now has digital gauges. It almost feels like a premium option now. Well, it is if you look at the Bugatti Tourbillon to have mechanical gauges, which this Mazda has. So it's simple, easy to use. I don't have to take my eyes off the road to tune the radio or to adjust the volume. I'm not taken away from the driving experience by modern technology, but I also still have AC and heated seats. This is the perfect era of tech and safety. This MX-5 also has the largest trunk of all the Miatas, so it's not huge, but pop it open, we're gonna find our camera bag fits in there perfectly. A couple of small roller bags will fit side by side, 5.3 cubic feet worth of trunk space, which is almost 1 cubic feet more than the new Miata, which is, it's not a lot of space, but when you're measuring in the single digits, it does make a difference. This is another example of where bigger might be better. So how does the NC, from driving standpoint, compare to the other generations? Well, it doesn't feel as go-kart-like as an NA, and it's not as planted as the brand new ND3. It's better than an NB, I think, in just about every way, although those cars are also super light and very fun, don't get me wrong. But the NC, it's the most grown-up Miata in some ways, and it's just the best Miata, I think, in every way. It's, sure, you could say it's a jack of all trades and a master of none, but I think it's a jack of all trades and pretty darn good at everything. It really does split that line, especially for the price point. It's just the best. Now, what are these cars going for on the used market? Well, that's a very interesting discussion, because during the COVID era of used car prices, they got very expensive, and it appears that they're kind of settling down a little bit as we head into 2025. Now, the early cars, especially with higher miles, can be had for 6, 7, 8 grand on the low end for a running and driving one. If you want an NC2 like this, the base price is gonna probably be somewhere around 9 to 11 for a decent driving NC2. And then if you want a low mileage one like this, I think I paid something like 13 grand for this car. And then if you want the best of the best, a 13 or 14 club version of an MX-5 with power tractable hardtop with low miles, I mean, $20,000 isn't out of the equation. It depends on where you buy these cars. On Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, they're going to be a lot more affordable than some place like Bring a Trailer or Cars and Bids, but then you get a lot of those great enthusiast cars on those sites that sometimes have been well taken care of. This car I bought, like I said, 58,000 miles on it, low owners, full maintenance history, right around $13,000, and it's definitely not perfect. Like, it does have some rock chips on the front, which you can clearly see, but my advice with buying these, buy the lowest mileage you can, or figure, you know, you're gonna have to go through the suspension, and I would try to find the stockest one you can as well. A lot of these have been heavily modded over the years because they're a great autocross platform. They're a great fun to drive canyon carver, right? People want to get the most out of them, so they change the suspension and the exhaust and do engine work and whatever. But for me, I want to find the most stock one I can. There's a good chance that car has lived the easiest life, as this car has, and then if you do want to do the mods, go ahead and do it yourself. That way you know they're done properly with good parts. So folks, I genuinely do think that this is the best generation of MX-5 Miata. It's just the perfect balance between being relatively affordable today, having good comfort and luxury features, and not being too complicated with screens, and also being the most comfortable, which is highly underrated. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This has been Tommy behind the camera Cole. We'll see you next time.